We're going to be multiplying and dividing fractions and decimals. I think the fractions are a little bit easier. Decimals are a little bit more complicated versus the adding and subtracting. I thought the fractions were a little bit more difficult, and the adding and subtracting of the decimals is a little bit easier. Now, when we're multiplying or dividing, we're not finding a common denominator. What we're going to do is we're going to cross cancel. So we're going to look at opposites like 3 and 5. So one's on the top, one's on the bottom. They have nothing in common, so there's no canceling. But if we look over here, what we have is a 2 and a 4. And I know that 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 goes into 4 two times. Now I multiply across. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 2 is 10. And that's how I multiply fractions. Now I'm also going to be dividing. Dividing is similar to multiplying. There's just going to be one more step. Whenever we see a division, division is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I have 5 over 14. Then I take the reciprocal of the second one, which is 7 over 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross cancel. So 5 and 2 have nothing in common. I can't cancel them, but I know that 7 and 14. 7 goes into 7 one time. 14, or 7 goes into 14 two times. 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 2 is 4. And I'm going to write it as a mixed number. 4 goes into 5 one time with a remainder of 1. So that right there would be my mixed number. Now, when we have two mixed numbers, what we're going to do is we're going to write them as improper fractions. So I multiply the 4 times the 1 to give me 4, plus 1 gives me 5. So I have 5 fourths. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the second one. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 is 23. I'm going to see if there's anything I can cancel. 23 and 4, nothing there. But the 5s I know cancel, and they become 1s. 1 times 23 is 23. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 goes into 23 5 times with a remainder of 3. Now what I want you to do is try the next 3 on your own. So pause the video. Okay, let's look at the next 3. The first one is division. Remember, if we see division, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. And when we multiply by the reciprocal, what I'm referring to is the second number. So the 3/5 becomes 5/3. I'm going to see if there's anything I could cancel, and there's nothing. So that becomes 25 over 18. 18 goes into 25 one time with a remainder of 7. So I have 1 and 7/18. Now looking at the next one, I see that the 3 and the 9 can cancel. I also see that the 5 and the 10 can cancel. Now I'm going to multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 2 is 6. Now looking at the next one, I see a division. So I'm going to flip it. Some people use the phrase keep, change, flip, if you've heard that in junior high. Keeping the first number, changing the sign, flipping the second number. So sometimes people remember keep, change, flip. Now, we're going to keep this one, but I'm going to change it into an improper fraction. So 9 times 3 is 27, plus 4 is 31. I'm changing it to multiplication, and I'm flipping the second number. So it becomes 3 over 2. Now I'm going to look to see if there's anything I could cancel. The 31 and the 2 can't cancel, but I know that the 3 and the 9 can. So 31 times 1 is 31, and 3 times 2 is 6. 6 goes into 31 5 times, and there's a remainder of 1. That right there would be the fractions. Now let's look at the decimals. With the decimals, it's a little bit different than the adding and subtracting because we're not lining up the decimals. What we're going to do is we're just going to multiply the numbers. So I have 7.1 and I have 42. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 7 is 14. I put a 0 as a placeholder because this is a tens digit. So it's not 4, technically it's 40, but we're going to call it 4 because we're putting a 0 here for the 40. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 7 is 28. So I have 2, 8, 9, and 2. Now this is where it's a little tricky because we have to count the decimal places. This is 1 decimal place. This is none. So since this one has 1 and that one has none, we have a total of 1 decimal place. We always start at the end and move it 1 spot. So that means our final answer is 298.2. Now we're going to look at division. Division's a little bit more difficult. We're going to divide it in the old school long division. Now when we're dividing it, what we're going to do is we're going to move the decimal with the divisor, and whenever we do one thing, we have to do the same thing to the other. So that means the decimal is right between the 2 and the 4. We're going to see how many times does 16 go into 102. And with this right here, what we have to do is we have to take a guess. So I'm going to guess 6. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So I have 96. 102 minus 96 is 6. I'll bring down the 4. 16 goes into 64. 4 times. So that means my answer is 6. Now looking at the next one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 5.81 times the 2.9. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 5 is 45. Plus 7 is 52. Now I'm going to put 0 for the tens. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 8 gives me 16. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. 9, 4, 8, 6, 1. Now if we're looking at the decimals, it's 2 places here and 1 place right here. It's a total of 3 places. We always start at the end. 1, 2, 3. So my final answer is 16.849. Okay, what I want you to do is try those next 3 on your own. So just pause the video, see how you do, and then we'll go over it. Looking at the next one, what we're going to do is we're going to take the 4 and we're going to divide 12.4. 4 goes into 12 3 times, and then 4 goes into 4 1 time. So my final answer is 3.1. For multiplying, I have 9.1 times 8.4 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 9 is 36. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 9 is 72. I'm going to add it up. 4, 14, 6, and 7. Now I have to look for the placeholders. So there's one placeholder right here. There's one decimal place. I should say decimal place, not placeholder. Right here. That's a total of 2. So I start at the end and I move it 2 decimal places. So my final answer is 76.4. Looking at our last one, I have 0.23. That's the divisor. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide 10,000. That's weird with the comma. 10 should be 103.72. I'm going to move the decimal place 2 places. Decimal place 2 places. And I'm going to see how many times does 23 go into 103. So that would be 4. Multiply 23 by 4 gives me 12, 8, 9. So that would be 92. Then I'm going to subtract it. And that right there gives me 11. So now I have 117. So I'm going to multiply it by 5 and see if 5 works. 15, 10, 11. So that gives me 115. When I subtract it, I get 2. That was a 3. And then I bring the 3 down. 23 goes into 23 one time. So my final answer is 451.